All right, mic check, mic check. Can chat hear me? And how do I sound?
Tries picture.
All right. Good. All right, we're good to go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 8 of the Citizens Voice podcast. Today, I have 3 guests with me, all our longtime gamer buddies. We've been playing roughly, 5-6 years. Does that sound right, everybody? Ish, roughly.
Since the
Um,
Warzone Battlefield days.
yeah. Whenever Warzone came out, that was basically the start of it, which I think was 2019. So yeah, I think 6 years. Um, so we'll kind of go through a quick round of introductions and learn a little bit about our guests, and then we'll jump right in. We'll start with you, Death.
On the chopping block. Okay, yeah. Again, like I've known Gally for a few years now. I've been gaming friggin' since I was like 4 and could crawl onto my parents' PC and play MS DOS games. I love the Star Citizen type space genre, but yeah, that's I didn't really think of an intro. That's me though.
No, that's good.
I'm
Void, we'll
Canadian.
go with you.
I'm Void. I've known Gally for many years, probably middle school era. Um, yeah, I like playing games. That's it. Me.
Actually, real quick, answer me this: what's your kind of favorite? What's your favorite genre of game? Maybe that's what we'll do.
I would definitely
Like
say shooters.
FPS games.
Uh, um,
Damn.
yeah, I like shooters for sure.
Okay.
Bro, doxed me. 5 minutes
And
into the
then,
podcast, bro, doxed me.
and why try? You're up next.
My name's Ytry. I've been seriously gaming since Star Wars Battlefront 2015 came out. Best game of all time. I've been seriously playing with Gally ever since I started playing Tarkov. Been carrying his ass for 5 years straight. And my favorite genre of game is Star Citizen.
Big eye roll.
All right. So for the viewers watching, there's a lot of fun lore history between the 4 of us. We've been playing, like we said, games for a long time. We played, I think, I just did the math, like over 40 different games with each other over the course of these last couple of years. A lot of jokes. This is going to be a fun episode. A lot of funny banter, I imagine. So strap in and enjoy the show. And we'll make this as quick as painless as possible. All right, so we'll jump. Just to give the viewers kind of an overview of where we are going. We're going to do a brief rundown of kind of their limited Star Citizen experience. We're going to move into kind of what their opinions are on the game currently, and then we'll transition into the game evolving and upcoming future and kind of their interests and what they hope to see. And then we'll kind of get into more like really long-term goals of like maybe what's something that they personally want the game to do or accomplish, whether that's a feature set or something like that. And then we'll wrap up with closing thoughts. And then any questions that you guys, the audience, have, drop them in, and we'll kind of do a Q&A from the audience at the very end. One of the cool parts about being able to do a live podcast is we get to involve the viewers. So we will jump right in. We'll start with Death again. Your current experience with Star Citizen and your kind of history maybe with the genre, because I know you have probably more experience than the other two. What's kind of your history with space games, maybe MMOs, stuff like that, and just kind of touch into your experience so far?
Yeah, definitely. So I tried to pick a picture that might kind of show a little bit about what I've played in the past, and I forget his name. Robert what's his name that made Star Citizen?
Chris Roberts.
Chris Roberts, yes.
Yep.
A few games that he's worked on. I grew up playing Wing Commander, um, which is like one of his earliest franchises, and then I fiended a lot of Freelancer as a kid, in my early teens. Playing that, one of my first multiplayer games. Um, so I mean, I've got some background in the space genre, and I played a lot of Freelancer back then. It was kind of like the first iteration of an online space sim, and had fun playing as a trader hauler, and more on a smaller scale though than whatever Star Citizen has ever tried and successfully has become. But yeah, that's my sort of background in the space genre. And um,
And what about Star Citizen specifically? Kind of how much, what's been your experience with Star Citizen over these last what 2 years? I think you've played occasionally, off and on, a
yeah,
couple
no, for
times.
sure. I mean, I remember when it was announced, it's a long time ago, and was I think I was even in high school when it was being revealed, or like it just left high school. But then only getting a PC that could play Star Citizen in like 2021 or 2020, end of 2020. Um, and so for the past couple of years, uh, I have dabbled in it, played it maybe, I think like 4 or 5 times now. But I've never been hooked enough to keep playing it or making it a mainstay game. It's more just jumping in and seeing what it's about, seeing what it's doing, um, how far it's come. But I
like
won't
like
get
a
into
check-in,
more about that.
like
But yeah,
check-in
like I
stuff.
keep checking into it and playing it enough, and usually tagging along with you so that I can make my way around it. It is somewhat confusing to play, but not a stranger to confusing games as someone that's put in a thousands of hours into Tarkov. But um, it is hard to get into at right away, and it's a little much for the new players. But honestly, it's enjoyable. But I guess we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
What our experiences are with it.
Void, what about you? What's your kind of experience with space games or large kind of scale MMOs? And then what is your experience with Star Citizen specifically?
Like space games, I don't really before Star Citizen don't have any games that I specifically played that was like big MMOs. Um, I was mostly a PvP gamer before I switched over to PC. Which, funny enough, Gally is the person that kind of got me into PC gaming. I was mostly just console, big PlayStation guy. Played games like Uncharted, um, Star Wars games, Spider-Man games, stuff like that. Nothing really like a big scale like Star Citizen. I guess would you guys consider GTA an MMO? Would that be considered an MMO?
Uh,
Kind of, yeah.
yeah, in a way. My next question was going to be GTA because there are some not direct but very close to direct similarities between the two games in terms of like the open world aspects of it and kind of the larger scale, even
I
though
agree.
it's very different in terms of scale. They're both trying to accomplish that sense of realism,
Yeah.
and I say realism in large quotations. Um, so yeah, you can touch on that. I think that's a good thing to note for context.
Yeah, so games like GTA 5, I love games like that. If a game can figure out how to make large scale maps fun, I guess, whether I guess you could just kind of say you could do whatever you wanted in GTA, and that's the part I enjoyed about GTA. In games like Star Citizen, I think I could come to enjoy it. There's just little things for me that just deter me from the game, which we'll dive into later. But um, I do think Star Citizen overall, my experience with it hasn't been bad. I think it's has immense amount of potential. But there's just little things that just prevent me from playing it. I could definitely see myself playing it long term though once those things get figured out.
And Watcher, what about you? Background in space games, large scale, anything like that?
I don't really have a background in space games unless you want to count Star Wars Battlefront or I guess Stellaris. Star Citizen's really the first person real space game I've ever had experience with. I'm kind of like Void, just been playing FPS games my whole life.
And
Um,
what about like large scale? Have you played like any kind of like big open world games, anything like that?
Not really. I'm not really an MMO player, to be honest.
Yeah.
I guess the closest like big game I've ever played is DayZ. That doesn't even count.
Yeah, I wouldn't. There are some similarities, but I would say it's like I would say it's a lot further away from Star Citizen than like what I would say like a GTA is. Cool. Well, now that we got some of the context out of the way, for the viewers who may not know me, I've been playing Star Citizen. Is other than GTA is also my first large scale game. Well, I guess I played Red Dead Redemption too, but this is my first space game. I have not played any of the freelancers, the Eve Online's, anything like that. Like Star Citizen is the first for me, but I dived head on and head first into it, and it's now my all-time favorite game. And I've been playing pretty religiously for about 4 or 5 years now. Um, so cool. We'll get into some of the more meteor topics. So I know there's varying levels of when you guys last played and kind of your experiences. So let's kind of briefly go through what your current stance on the game is today, or maybe what your last memory of the game was, and kind of go through maybe some of the things you like, some of the things you don't like, and just kind of share some of the thoughts on that. And we'll kind of keep going in the same circle. We'll go Death, Void, White Train.
Last time I played was, I think, like 3 or 4 months ago, and it was you, myself, I think Y-Try actually, and we were trying to get um some sort of ship unlocked. So you had to like go into a raid in a secret base or this
Yep,
like
the
underground
contested
base, and
zones.
yeah, the contested zones. Yep, that's what it was. And we were making our way through that and had trapped a player in it, and or had come across another team that was doing it, and we wiped them out. It was pretty fun, honestly. Um, and I was enjoying it, but I haven't played it on my new PC setup, but my old one, which was a 3080 and an i9 9900K, kind of struggled um, in those sequences. I was getting like about 30 to 40 FPS, and it just felt very choppy.
Yeah.
It just felt, and it's still with every play session that I've had so far, like it's more than just a proof of concept for me, but I feel like the cohesive package just isn't quite there. And while I can play janky games, and I have in the past, and can tolerate it to a point, there's just so many issues that I've had whilst playing those games, and then maybe I just have bad luck, but um like things before where I'd fall through the elevator or
Yeah.
just disconnect errors, which I know that one thing that they figured out was the disconnects and reconnects, which is huge because that was enough to never make me play the game again. Like for
Yeah.
how long it takes to get out in your ship and to do anything in the game. It just kind of put me off of it. So I like the idea and what it's doing, and I can see where it's going. And also, I'm sure there's surprises around the corner, but it's just not quite yet a polished enough experience for me to keep wanting to come back to it.
Yeah.
But I do see the potential, and like I think Void likened it to GTA. I feel like a lot of the reasons right now to play it um, is like GTA's popularity. It's in like role playing a little bit, and while I can appreciate it for that, I'm also really not into GTA role playing, and I kind of prefer to just play GTA online. And I think the reason why for that is one, I just don't really care to role play too much in my games, but I kind of just want the game itself to have reasons to play it, and like progression and rewards and a gameplay loop that feels satisfying.
Yep.
I feel like right now it's just like a lot of ideas thrown at a board, and some of it works and you can pull some gameplay loops out of it. Um, but some of it just ends up being such a chore that I can't be bothered, I guess. That's my
Yeah.
takeaway from it. Um,
No,
but
I think that's
I
all
still
fair.
follow the project, and I think it's really ambitious and really cool. And I hope that one day it can get to that point where, I don't know, maybe I log in and I can do a bit of jobs here and there, and I can earn some money, and I'm progressing somehow, or I'm in a guild and or a space organization and contributing in some way capacity, because that's like going back to my freelancer days, that's where I felt those games thrived. Far more basic than what Star Citizen offers, but it had like an interesting gameplay loop. You worked with other organizations. There was pirates, there was the Navy, there was traders, and maybe just because it was more focused, it felt like a better game. But it also doesn't offer like half of what Star Citizen's doing, and it had its own issues too. I think even today they remade Freelancer, and it's still like the multiplayer aspect of dogfighting in the game gets to a point where it just doesn't feel good, um, or there's like a meta to it or something that
Yeah.
doesn't make it fun. Um, so, and I don't see that being an issue with Star Citizen. It's so creative. There's so many things happening at once. All the different, like the engineer update, really cool concepts that I think add to it. And I'm hopeful maybe in my lifetime I'll see what it looks like. Like, like when it was announced, I'm talking like I think 15 years ago is when I heard about this game for the first time, and I thought, oh, I'm not gonna buy a PS4. I'm gonna I'm gonna get a PC, and then that just never ended up happening. And Star Citizen wasn't quite what I thought it'd be, and it wasn't a reason for me to get a PC. But I see it now, and it's moving along, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's still not there yet.
Not quite there yet for me, at least. I feel like it's still in an alpha stage where, yeah, the fun isn't enough for me to want to keep testing it, but it feels like, again, it's more proofs of concepts than a package that's, I don't know, feels worth my time.
Yeah. Void, what about you? Current thoughts on the game? I know you and I we just hopped in like last week or 2 weeks ago. What are your current thoughts?
Yeah, so I would just talk about like what we did the last time we played, because I actually noticed, because me and Gally, like Gally's been trying to get me to play this game forever.
He
But
does a lot. I won't lie. Fair
he's a
enough.
huge advocate for this game. But I would say like maybe like 8 months ago, or maybe even longer than that, like the UI to me was just terrible. There were just certain things about the UI that I just didn't like the way that you would travel in your spaceships and how long it took to get to certain places and all this other stuff. And I told all those complaints to Gally. And when I played this time, those are some of the things that I noticed that they're like kind of buttoning up and getting better at. Like the space travel, when I got in my spaceship this time in the hangar, it was easy to just look at the planet, travel to the planet. It felt smooth and effective. And I think that's like the biggest thing for me is time. How much time does it take to get to do things? And is it worth the time to wait for? So I like a quick experience, get in and out of games. We don't have too much time to be gaming all day. But yeah, I would just say the amount of time that it takes to game is what's important to me. And originally when I first started playing that game, it was just like taking forever to do stuff, and then there would be crashes and different bugs like falling through the elevator or getting terrible frames or falling through the ship. I remember that was one thing that happened. Me and Gally had traveled all the way across the galaxy, and then I fell through the ship, and I was like, oh, I have to restart all the way back at what's the starting base, Gally? Stanton.
I forget. I think it was Orson that we were starting
Oh,
at inside of
or
Stanton. Yeah.
yeah. So Orison and those little things like definitely like
They
deter
suck
me
the
from
air right out of your system. You're like, yeah,
yeah
I'm
yeah.
good. I'm done.
But like Death said, right? I didn't have the best PC to game on Star Citizen. I recently just upgraded. I had before a 3060 because that's what I first started on Galley. Was a
Yep.
3060 Ti. I had an i7. Don't ask me what the other numbers were. Um, and an okay motherboard. It was a pre-built Alienware, so it was really just a starter PC. And then I just upgraded to my AMD Ryzen 7. I'm forgetting
He has a
the other.
9800X 3D and a
Yeah, thank
5080.
you. Yeah, and the 5080. We just played recently, and the performance I will say on that card and that CPU was great. I was getting around 80 to 100-ish, 120-ish frames. And that's the type of performance I could definitely play on
Same.
for a game like that. And it was smooth. Me and Gally had a good time. We were about to go do a mission. We got to the place where we were doing the mission, and then we got cooked. These guys, this one guy just showed up behind us and killed us. And then there was a bug that happened. It was just like a bug where me and Gally were just
Oh yeah.
sitting on a black
I'll
screen.
touch on this a little bit more because I ended up finding more about this. So we were in the Onyx facilities for people who were watching. We went down into the Onyx facilities, and before we even made it into the first section of the Onyx facilities, a guy came up behind us and shot us both in the back, and we were basically dead before we even knew it hit us.
Yeah,
And then the bug that happened was the bug on December 3rd when the game just like went down for an hour or two, and like all the servers just went down and crashed. I don't know if we ever heard what happened with that. Um, but yeah, it's just like as we died is like the moment the servers went down, and it was just like this really unfortunate case of bad luck.
yeah. I'll say I didn't have a whole bunch of time to play with Gally at that point. I knew that like I only had a little bit of time because I had to go do something. But the last time I did play, I was impressed with the performance and how the game was running with the new PC, obviously, but also just the different things that I've noticed that they've changed since I first started playing. Because the UI was rough. Like even Gally, a person that loves the game, even noticed that it was rough. And they are definitely like getting better, and I think they're listening to their fans, which some games struggle to do, like Tarkov. Um, but yeah, I think overall, I like the game. I definitely see the future for the game. I think if they just do more things to make the game more interactive, like I'll give you an example. Like GTA was really good at. I don't know if you guys ever did this, but they had like you could just be in regular online multiplayer, but then you could go do like the crazy races and stuff like that, and like the obstacle courses, and like there was like stuff like that where all like players would just get together and do stuff like that. RPGs versus what was that armored vehicle in GTA? Uh,
Yeah, I
What?
know what you're talking about. I forget the name of it.
The Karuma car?
no,
Or
it was like the what it had the gun on it, and it could take like missiles. Either
oh,
way,
like one of
I
the
insurgents.
can't remember.
trucks.
Insurgents. That's what they were called.
Okay.
RPGs versus insurgents. Just you could do jets versus jets. Like there's just so many things to do in GTA, and they would make it like interactive, so you could do other stuff too. I think what makes a game fun right now is what stuff that Galley does. Like he does like all these events and stuff like that, where he's like bringing a bunch of players together to actually like do stuff. It's just for me right now, it's on such a large scale that if I was playing it solo, I wouldn't really know what to do. But playing with a guy like Gally that's tapped into the community and knows what different people like and arms deals and all this crazy stuff that he has going on now, is that stuff seems fun to me, and I could definitely get behind that type of stuff.
Yeah. Um, So maybe something that's exciting for you then, knowing that you kind of like the race aspect of it. So that's in order for that to happen, they're putting you in an instance every time. So you like go up to that area, you click A or click X, whatever, and you join that race. You're now like in an instance within that server in like this invisible bubble that can't impact the larger server. And then as soon as you're done with the race, you go right back to where you were and you kind of reconnect back into the main server, and then you can keep playing. Um, Star Citizen will have that in 2026.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's what sounds like a major focus of theirs will be. This year was kind of the year of stability and performance. Next year is going to be the year of instancing. I almost guarantee it. They haven't officially called it that, but given all the stuff they've shown us at the CitizenCon and whatnot, showing off what's coming in 2026, there was a lot of talk of instancing. And what that'll do is basically give you that experience of like you can go to certain places and do certain things, and then you enter like this private bubble that is kind of shielded from the outside world and just kind of gives you that catered experience that you're really looking for. So might be something for you to keep an eye out on. Y-Track, what about you? Thoughts on the current game? You and I just had a nice little 2-hour session today. You watched me play some yesterday. You probably have the least amount of play time between everybody. What are your current thoughts?
So the first time I played Star Citizen with Gally, we spent like an hour trying to actually get to something, and then we immediately caught a crime stat, died, and went to prison. We spent like an hour and a half trying to get out of prison just to get in a buggy and have Gally run me over while I'm inside the buggy with him, and I get sent back to prison. So I immediately uninstalled that game for like 6 months. I was like, fuck that, I'm not playing that. I reinstalled the game when like Death was talking about the containment zone things to get the ships. I reinstalled because I was like, oh, that sounds fun, like little PvP arenas. So me and Gally were like going through that, and I actually got a ship going through that because I was like, oh, this is cool, just run around and fight people inside here. Not really exploring the larger, empty Star Citizen universe. And then earlier today, me and him were playing, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take you to this great PvP spot. It's gonna be so much fun. We spent an hour kitting up. He gives me no bullets, no meds. We immediately die to AI. I'm like, this guy is a fantastic Star Citizen tutor.
We did not immediately die.
Immediately got
It was a
washed.
last stand that lasted for a few minutes.
But then we we took a little more time to prepare, and we had fun. We snuck aboard somebody's ship, shot him in the back, ruined their day, stole all their goop, and then
Yeah.
that was
Two
fun.
guys. It was two guys. We snuck aboard their Apollo and shot one, and then got aboard his Apollo, and then his teammate came in to try to save him, and then it turned into a 2v2 gunfight in the inside of their ship, and we were victorious. It was pretty cool. I can't lie.
And
Keep going. Yeah, go ahead.
my only real like problems I have with Star Citizen is how long it takes from loading into the game to get to like a place to do things. Like sometimes you have like 30
Yes.
minutes to an hour downtime before you can actually like start PvPing or doing like your missions and stuff, whatever you want to do. For me, it's usually PvP. And then like for somebody like me who doesn't really like fly their own ship because I think the controls suck personally. If like I die and then Gally can't rescue me because he sucks, I have to wait for him to die to like come get me to like regroup back up. And that's just a skill issue on my part. But if you could get from place to place like quickly, like 10 minutes, like I could get from stand to pyro and like get into a PvP fight, I think the game would be phenomenal. But
Yeah,
to get from stand to pyro to PvP is like a 30-minute adventure, and it's just really bad.
I
We're
feel
getting
like it. I feel like it's hard to do that because the game wants to be like a simulator.
Yeah, realism.
and
There's a
realism,
balance you have to
and
find.
it does have to have that balance. Like I play No Man's Sky, and yeah, okay, you can get places faster in that game, but like I also don't like how arcadey that game was either. And like I get it, it has to make like some sort of balance where um it has to feel immersive. I feel like that's what they're going for is immersion, role playing. Um and that's kind of it is hard to strike that balance where it's gratifying and keeping you playing enough. It's almost why I play in first person when like flying the ships, and I'd rather like interact with the controls than to memorize hotkeys and stuff like that. One, because I don't have time to memorize or I don't play it enough to memorize the keys, but yeah, I just want to be immersed. But that is my biggest gripe too, is how long it can take from spawning in, getting on a ship and doing something, just like
Yeah.
anything really.
Yeah, I think
But that's partly learning the game over again too, because you haven't been playing it, right? Like
yeah,
you're
and
quicker.
I think that's something that CIG doesn't do a great job at now. Is like that is essentially what you guys are describing is basically the beginner experience in terms of
Right.
progression. And currently, there's no official progression, but there is an unofficial progression that they want you to do right now, which is to like go out and earn the better ship components because those ship components will reduce that travel time. Like for example, if you're quantuming from stand wherever your home base is to the gateway to then jump through the tunnel to go to Pyro, like you can cut that time in sometimes half by getting the best quantum drive to install into your ship. Most of your ships don't have the best gear. In fact, most of them have very bad setups. And so they are trying to get you to like engage with the progression of going through these various game loops, and oftentimes the rewards at the end of these game loops is better ship components. But they don't do a good job of telling players that, and you're only going to know that if you've been playing for a while or someone goes out and tells you like, hey, we're going to go do X, Y, and Z because at the end of it we're going to get components to upgrade your ship. And then but if you don't fully grasp that concept and can't really dig into it and figure out what that means for you, then as a new player, that's I would imagine it's a huge pain point.
And I just feel like there may be not enough gameplay aspects to it to um maybe not focus on traveling too far away from where you start. Like maybe later that'll have something where I don't know, like for example, you join depending on your spawn, you either join the pirates or the fucking government or something or whatever, and you work for maybe the military and you're doing a couple contracts that are close to the base and only have you like traveling a short distance and you're earning so that you can maybe earn better ships and those feel rewarding. Like you should feel rewarded for accomplishing things and getting better ships upgraded so that you can travel distances or you get that battalion ship that your organization uses and comes clutch to take whatever like
Yeah,
other activities
there's a lot of
maybe in the game.
examples. It could be.
Exactly. And then um and I don't feel like they're there yet obviously, but um that could appease some of those issues. Like I wouldn't feel like, oh, I want to do this new activity that's in the game because it's cool and interesting, but we're jumping into this game first time only, or don't play it, don't have things, don't have an inventory or space in
Yep.
ship investments, I could say, to I guess get us there quicker. And we just want to jump in and have those experiences without working towards it. But it brings me back to like GTA Online, where you start off broke as shit. You have a shitty car. You're doing little scrubby jobs, hustling uh cash friggin' or hustling convenience stores for cash and like or like doing these little missions that are small petty crimes and stuff before you lead up to the big heists and where you're making bigger payouts and earning more and opening up more experiences because like in that game you have to properties for an insane amount of money
Yeah.
that opens up new experiences and whatever, but you don't just get those right out the gate. You might now, as the game's been out for like 10, 15 friggin' years, and you can buy these packs that ultimately start you with a lot of those, but it wasn't there in the beginning and you had to grind. And I guess that is partly why I don't play it. That I don't not that there is nothing to grind. I guess I just don't understand what to grind, and
Why
there
you want to
really
grind
isn't
it?
too many venture or too many different aspects of the game. It seems to me, at least, that would make that time enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got your mining, you've got your your trade cargo stuff, your bounty hunting. Um, but yeah, maybe a little bit more in those, flesh those out, and make it a little bit easier for the new player to jump in and kind of get situated, but um,
Yeah. So I think
rewarding for the
uh,
time.
since you played, I mean, this year had a lot of really great changes, and I think one of those, which I haven't done a super great job of explaining to you guys, is the whole barter system with Wicklow, and he's
Hmm.
the first of many reasons as to why you're going to feel like grinding. Like there are now a lot of things to grind for. Wicklow, for example, he'll give you things like, well, actually, let me backtrack. For the three of you who may not know, CIG has promised that every ship they release at 1.0 will be earnable in game. And I use the word earnable for a reason because they will not all be buyable in game. Meaning you can't just go to a ship store in at Lorville and spend 50 million on your favorite yacht. You That is a option for some ships, and then there are other ships that is not the option, and you have to now grind for that ship using this new barter system. At least in what we have today, this might evolve. Crafting is coming in, so soon you'll be able to craft ships.
That's
Um,
cool. Yeah, and base
that's
building, isn't it
Yeah,
too? They were talking about.
crafting should be coming early in 2026, and base building is up in the air. That maybe we get that
Yeah.
end of next year, maybe early 2027. But crafting will be coming in, and we can't craft ships in the beginning, but we'll be able to start crafting things like maybe components for your ships, crafting FPS gear and items and stuff like that. And then as the feature progresses over the course of the year, it'll expand and whatnot. But the grind aspect is now very much there for some of these large ships. Like, for example, on Thursday is when the next patch drops. And I'm personally beginning my largest grind ever to get the Wicklow Idris, which is going to have this really cool, unique skin that only Wicklow items have. You can't buy it on the store. You can't get it anywhere else. You have to get it through Wicklow. And you have to hand in an insane amount of items in order to get this capital ship. And it's the largest ship in the game currently. And so our org is going to be putting together a huge push to help me get this ship. And it's going to be literally multi-person effort to combine our manpower, resources, and items together to get me this Idris to use for our events. And that's on a really large scale, but there's a lot of individual scales too for smaller ships or smaller custom armor sets that only he sells, or I shouldn't say sell, only he can give you and barter for. And those are all in game now, but again, they don't do a good job of explaining it to you. And so if you didn't know about it already and you weren't following the patches, you would really have no idea that this is even an option, unless you kind of stumbled upon it, which is not a great look in my opinion. But there is a lot of progress on that grindability aspect that I'm super excited to see how they continue to improve. All right. For the sake of time, we will jump into the next question here. Over the next maybe year or so, or upcoming future, where do you guys think your interest lies? Like, do you guys feel like over the last 1 to 2 years, and maybe this year, that your interest in the game has grown or not grown? And are there things that are maybe concerning to you as far as its growth, or maybe things that you are now more excited for that you maybe you weren't as excited for when you maybe first heard about the project or earlier on in the project? Kind of where do you guys stand on its growth potential in the next 1 to 2 years as we're rapidly heading towards a 1.0 launch? Maybe let's do this. Maybe list some things that maybe you are excited for, maybe things you aren't excited for. Death, we'll start with you.
Okay.
And if you don't know details, that's totally fine. If it's just concepts of things, that's totally fine as well.
I don't exactly follow it, so I don't know what's in the pipeline, but I know every time I've played it, it has gotten better. The experience has gotten more solid, less issues. Um, I don't know, like I'll definitely keep trying it, but I don't know what what I'm expecting or to be excited for. I am more excited for the single player game.
Yep.
And like maybe basing my opinions on what Star Citizen could be after that. Although I understand that like a multiplayer aspect of that game would be very different than what a curated single player could be.
Yeah.
But
But it gets you into the lore of the universe and kind of gives you that more
yes.
polished experience. It kind of shows you what the bright side could be.
And that the guy, again, I forget his name.
Chris Roberts.
Chris Roberts makes some really cool single player games, or has in the past. Like Wing Commander was dope as fuck. Had movies that supported it. Freelancer, it's a crime. There's a second, or there never was a second game. So I mean, I really enjoyed all those experiences and the stories they told, and I guess that's partly what makes Star Citizen interesting too, is the unique stories that you can take away and have for yourself in those games. Which I guess just falls into the whole role playing thing, but it is an immersive simulator, and
So
obviously, yeah, you're
maybe
gonna have
let's
like
try
different
this.
experiences.
What would, if in the next 1 to 2 years, maybe what are some things that you would like to see the game improve on or add that would improve the amount of time you spent playing the game, instead of maybe it doesn't become your main game in the next year or two, but it becomes a
Right.
game that you maybe throw in the rotation as a thing that maybe you check in on once a month instead of every 6 months or 12 months, whatever it might be. What are some things that you would hope to see them do to kind of improve the playability aspect for you and kind of get you to dive in a little bit more?
Say a lot more curated progression that feels rewarding. And I don't know how they'll do that, but like
Yep.
more things to do that don't involve making those experiences yourself, I guess. Like I should, as a solo player, maybe be able to jump on and have reasons to play that aren't um that are just inherently designed into the game. Like you I don't want the game to be gamified too much, but like again, I'm going to bring GTA up as an example, but with GTA, like you were trying to make money, you were leveling up your character, you wanted properties, you wanted guns, you needed ammo, whatever, and you were trying to create an empire. Like it feels like I know you can do those things in Star Citizen, but it just doesn't feel like they've kind of nailed or finalized
Fleshed it
that
out.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like I know that there is some parts of those things there, but like yeah, bring it all together and add more, because there's not quite enough, I think, to sustain the game. But
Yeah.
I like racing is another cool little activity. Like stuff like that. Do stuff that is more engaging on the side. I know eventually, like if base building ends up being a thing, I'm sure you're gonna have to get the materials, and maybe that creates a whole new aspect of the game that you can make money off of as a player, as long as it's interesting. Don't make it boring because it's realistic, kind of thing. So they
Yeah.
have to play that fine line of making the game fun and engaging, and not another job I'm playing after work or something. And
Yeah.
make use of my time, reward my time, because that's like Try says. I feel like that's the biggest sticking point for me is is the pain of putting in a lot of time to get nowhere in that game can really deter people, including myself. And
Yeah.
I waste a lot of time playing games. Like I can sit in a Tarkov raid for 40 goddamn minutes and still feel rewarded to a degree that I don't feel like the same with Star Citizen.
Yeah. Fun fact, racing, you can do it right now. And the progression is you have your starting racetrack and you have to get a certain time through the track. And when you do, you start to progress and unlock more and more tracks until you get to all the tracks unlocked. It is a
Oh.
pretty cool loop. I'm pretty bad at it, but there are lots of people who are very good at it. It's very cool to see. Little fun fact for you.
Nice.
Void, what about you? Maybe what are some things in the next 1 to 2 years that would improve the experience for you to make it throw it in a game? Maybe not your main game, but it becomes a rotation game for you.
I think what you said. I think most of the information that I know about this game comes from you. I don't really follow it as heavily as you do, so I don't know what's coming through the pipeline consistently. But I will say that if they do make it interactive, like you said, where I could just kind of jump into quick gaming type of scenarios where I could go into like a race for an instance or some PvP, maybe like a team deathmatch type of deal, and then go back to the universe and play with the other players that are in just like the larger scale world. I think that would be a better experience for me. I'm kind of in the same boat as Death and Hack, that I want to kind of just do something and not take so much time just not doing anything. I think that
Yeah.
maybe that's and maybe that has to do with like the type of games that I grew up on. It's kind of always been that quick experience, quick matchmaking type of deal. And I think Star Citizen is not exactly going for that, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think what they're doing is pretty cool and pretty neat because they're bringing in the kind of that role play aspect of wanting it to be realistic, but also they want to kind of stick to their grounds of it being a big world, different universes, and that's if that's what they want to do, that's what they should stick with. So I think overall, I think just being able to do things faster in the game would definitely draw me into the game more. But I also would be interested in some of the stuff that you do, like the events and the different
Yeah, the
stuff that you
player
do.
interaction side of things.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big player interaction guy. I like interacting with other players, whether that's trolling or having a good time. I like interacting with players. So yeah.
Yep. What about you? I try a couple things that the game could do, whether things you know that are coming that I've told you, or maybe things that you just are annoyed at that you hope are improved. That would kind of make it a game that you have in rotation more often.
Honestly, for me, if they could improve their god awful UI, in my opinion,
And so
and then
touch on that a little bit because they are working on that. So I'm curious, what parts annoy you? Is it everything about the UI, or is it a couple of things that annoy you?
it's almost everything for me. It's like there's way too many moving parts to be able to like, get things into your inventory, get them onto your hotbar. The UI is simply glitching out and not working because there's so many like different commands or buttons involved with it. Like it all needs like a cleanup in my opinion.
Does most of it stem from inventory, like the inventory
Um,
management, stash management kind of stuff?
I mean, I haven't dealt with like all of the other menus involved with like navigating missions and all that,
Yeah,
but from my brief experience with that, it looked like there was like a lot of noise on those screens as well. But I
yeah,
do get that it's like a sim, I guess. It's
yeah.
like simulating stuff.
Yeah, I'll be
But
curious. I think I'm curious to see what your feedback will be because that's another thing they're working on is inventory. They have an inventory rework in development right now, and I've seen some mock-ups of what it will look like. I personally don't think it's going to be a huge improvement. So I'm curious what you think when that comes because that'll be another big 2026 thing, probably in the first half, if I had to guess. Um, so yeah, I'm curious what you think there. But I think that's all good. I think it's interesting, and part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast is all three of you had different answers, um, which I think is good and powerful for CIG to know that they can't just focus on one or two things. Like we have three different players here from three different backgrounds, but also backgrounds that are also a lot of similarities. We all come from a hardcore FPS background, and all three of you have different um, wants or needs potentially in terms of getting to play the game more, which is ultimately their goal. So I think it's cool to hear the different perspectives on kind of what would make the game more playable for you. I know personally for me, like even though I love this game to death, I am more of a follower than I am a player. Um, like Star Citizen for me has kind of been the game that I play when I can't figure out what else to play. Um, very rarely is Star Citizen the game that I like run home from work excited to play. Um, and it's become like my fallback game now where it's like it's all reliable. I know what kind of experiences I can have and I know how to doctor those, but it still doesn't quite have that pull for me to make it like a daily play game. And I'm really hoping that after like these engineering changes and some more progression updates, crafting and base building is my number one thing. When base building comes into the game, you guys might not ever see me again. I will be so deep in that it's going to be awesome. So yeah, it's interesting to hear your guys' different perspectives. So thank you for that. And as we're starting to wrap up here, which by the way, chat, if you guys have any questions on the chat Q&A, start dropping them down below. We'll kind of go through and answer these. Going through kind of some of your closing thoughts or arguments for the game. What would be so next year we've got a lot of stuff coming. A lot of it's going to be instance focused. There's going to be a large emphasis on the third solar system Nyx, which just came into the game last month. This month is bringing in things like engineering, which will kind of add that multi-crew experience to ships. We're going to start seeing things like VR support. We're seeing massive inventory reworks. We're seeing crafting coming online in the very near future here. We're starting to see them ramp up a lot. And as they're starting to wind down their year of stability, they're going to be dumping a lot of features into the game in the next 12 months or so. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Is that something that makes you guys excited? Like when you hear a lot of new features, a lot of new content coming into the game, is that something that your first gut reaction is, oh, that's great, I'm really excited? Or is it that's concerning, there's going to be a lot of bugs, a lot of issues? Like kind of what's your feel when you hear a lot of stuff's coming to the game, and just kind of share maybe some of your closing thoughts on the game and hopes and maybe things you don't like, and we'll kind of go through like maybe a final statement round on the game and its progress and the upcoming changes and whatnot. I've just barely touched on some of the upcoming changes. There's a lot more coming. So yeah, just kind of share some general overall thoughts as we start to close up. And then after this, we'll go through questions and we will wrap it up from there. And Death, we'll start with you.
I think for me, I'm not quite invested enough in the game for every update to feel interesting to me, but I do appreciate where it's going, and I do find it interesting. But I'd appreciate it more when I get to play it, or when I do decide to. Excuse me. But I don't quite follow, and I haven't seen updates that make me go, "Wow, yeah, this game it's a must play now."
Yeah.
It just feels like progress in different aspects of the game to finally get to that point where I can sit there and go, yeah, this is finally worth my time. But and a lot of fluff in between that I'm sure is part of those building blocks to get there. But maybe I'm just fatigued on alpha state games as well, which has been like the mainstay for the last half decade, it seems. But I follow it. I will probably always follow it because there's not quite a game that does do anything like it's doing or wants to be. And I don't foresee anything quite yet that it's going to be like, again, like it has to pull me in and play me. The base building, I guess, is probably one of them, only because I feel like it makes me think of the possibilities of what that can be and what that can change with the game. Um, and the type of experiences that'll create, especially if like it supports organizations in that sense, if these buildings
Yeah, it should be.
don't disappear, or like I don't know how it works. We'll have to see more of it, but it does have my interest. Um, and now that I have a new PC, I am definitely more interested in playing it because I don't feel like the performance is kind of gonna be an issue for me. What I think I covered that.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Just share some of your your closing thoughts. I'll share a little bit about the base building stuff, and I'm curious what your kind of immediate reaction is. Sounds like base building is going to be something that does not go, but it's going to be based on your region. So you could have theoretically a base on the U.S. servers, on the EU servers, on the Asian servers, and then the way it'll work is it doesn't matter what server you're on in the US, your base will be there. But your base can only be rated if they're on the same server as you. And then if they go to raid your base and they're not on the same server as you, um, it'll prompt them to switch servers and it'll automatically connect them onto the server that you're on as well. And
Almost like
also,
instances.
in a way, yes. And there also will be no offline rating from what we know now. They have talked pretty in depth about what rating will look like, and as of now, no offline rates. So you're gonna have to be there in order to have your base attacked.
W, because as someone with a life, I don't want to have to exist on the game permanently to
Yep.
protect my shit. And
Yep.
that's one of the reasons I don't play stuff like Rust or Ark or whatever in PvP. As much as I find it interesting, or DayZ even. I don't play DayZ for that exact reason. It's like I cannot be bothered with staying online just to protect some pixels. Like everybody's got their lives, and I should be able to log in and log off and feel confident that my stuff will be there.
Yeah. Now it can still be rated, so you can still lose all that stuff, but it will force you into a defend my base scenario and
For
not
sure.
just oh, I woke up and I lost it all.
And then I guess you can get into parts where like maybe who knows, maybe they tie it to an organ, like if the base is
so
an organization's base or something, maybe the people, if they're on, will have to protect it or something. Like I'm okay for that if that happens, but
yep. So
that's the way it goes. Like maybe you can transfer it from like a personal ownership house to an organization building or something like that. Like it just puts it in a different status bracket that allows it to be rated as long as those people are online.
Yeah, so they're doing an entire social tools improvement, which will include the addition of like in-game organizations where you can start to tie in-game assets to your org and like wear org banners and flags and custom armors and stuff for your org. And it will also tie ownership of things like bases and items within the base. And then bases will also be capable of hosting like in-game shops. So like you could sell items from your base and then just keep filling with like inventory. And it could become like a daily trade spot where like base Y and base Z both have materials that they're producing and the other base needs them. So they just trade materials back and forth. And you can do that on any server.
Where the ships bringing them over could be like hired. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes me excited for Star Citizen for sure.
Yeah, and you don't need to be in the same server to do that. You can interact with their base while not being in the server with them. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. And then things like building turrets and building defenses for your base that are automated and your own hangars and all sorts of crazy stuff. Mining stuff where you can you have to have a plot of land and that land is going to have resources that you can extract and you can set up mining outposts and then you're going to have taxes and all this other stuff. It's going to be a crazy system when that starts to come online, probably here in 2026.
Yeah, like build an economy. That was what the biggest thing of Freelancer was. Like it had an economy that was player influenced and buy sell prices were affected by supply and demand of things, and it was just a big part of the gameplay loop. And so like when I played it, I was a trader faction, so yeah, we would get paid to move all these kind of things, and it kind of like expanded to a bit of like a protection detail thing too. So like parts of it, yeah, we'd have our
Yeah.
haulers and we'd have our, I mean, you could hire protection detail, but we just had it in our own organization that if you were doing trading, just message and you would have people that were in our faction that we obviously, as a trader, you would pay a little bit of your profits towards and they would get paid and whatever. But it was interesting and neat. And it kind of built like a whole economy around um just the game itself,
Yeah.
and other people participating in other things would influence that economy, and um, access to certain areas that had certain resources and all this kind of stuff. And I'm
Yep.
sure, I know like there is aspects of freelancer in Star Citizen, and I'm sure Chris Roberts is thinking about all this kind of stuff and wants to implement something similar to that. But I feel like once it's at that point, it'll be really interesting for me. Um, until then, it's just kind of like I like the stuff that they're doing, like stuff with the raids, stuff with getting items, those instances, PVE, PvP. I find all that shit cool. Just bring it all together and making an experience that feels less convoluted
Cohesive.
and yeah, more cohesive, um and maybe just a bit more rewarding, I don't know, like, or less time investments of certain aspects of it. And yeah, I'm game, I'm there.
Um, cool. What about you, Void? Kind of closing thoughts on the game. There's a lot of changes coming up. Kind of what's your immediate reaction to that? Maybe share some of your closing thoughts on the game, any concerns you have, anything we just talked about with base building, anything like that.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think that the game overall, like, I'm looking forward to some of the stuff like the instances that we were talking about. I think base building, that's something new that I wasn't really aware of. That is something that I would be very into doing with you. And yeah, I don't I don't really have much to say
Yeah,
on
that's
that.
fine.
Yeah.
I just feel like, yeah, it reinforces those whole organization aspect of the game,
It
which
kind of
is,
Yeah.
closes the loop.
yeah, definitely
Yeah, it gives you a reason to go home, to continue to build and
contribute,
progress. It's its
be a
own
part of
form of
something bigger.
progression.
Yeah.
Yep, I absolutely agree. It's why I said, like, literally when base building comes out, you're gonna have to literally drag me kicking and screaming off of this game, because that, for me, that is the final piece of the puzzle that will lock me into this game for a very long time.
And
Um,
I like what you're doing too. Your like events and stuff. I feel like it's really cool and neat. I also feel like I don't play enough to feel like not that it wouldn't be worth my time or like to experience some of those. I just feel like I'd maybe be a bit useless. And I'm like, oh, if you do those male strippers again, I'll join in just for the fucking jokes of it and be one of them. But I don't like, I feel like I'm so under geared and so behind that it's just like, yeah, I don't know if I'm quite at the point of playing this game where that experience is something that, I don't know. I just feel like I would get in the way, and they're so big. It's so crazy. I really appreciate them though. They're pretty friggin' dope what you have been able to pull off, and seeing the people that do play this game a lot, what they get out of it, really cool. Um, and I kind of hope for that. I mean, hopefully, yeah, you can keep doing those kind of things on a grand scale when the game
yeah,
is fully launched or whatever. But um anyways,
yeah, for
but
sure.
yeah.
What about you, Watry? Closing thoughts, concerns, base building, anything like that? Anything that it's exciting you over the next year? Maybe not exciting. Just kind of your final thoughts as we start to wrap up here.
I mean, honestly, for me, if they could just improve the UI, I'd be wanting to play that game a ton. All that extra content and stuff they're adding, that's mostly for like you and all the other Star Citizen players that are starved for content, I guess. I just want to be able to experience Star Citizen itself. But there's just a lot of like bugs and UI problems that are just holding me back from playing. And if they clean that up, That's what I'd be most excited for. Not so much all this base building and other content drops they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious how they'll do it this year. This year, they did 11 patches that are all considered to be like major patches. And that is way more than almost 3 times as much as they do in a normal year. So I'm curious what 2026 and 2027 will bring. Because 2026 is supposed to be Squadron 42, and there's going to be a heavy push for them to wrap up Squadron 42 and push you to Star Citizen right after. And they are not going to want Star Citizen to kind of be this not complete, not finished. Not saying they're going to go Star Citizen 1.0 when Squadron releases, but like they might want Star Citizen in like a beta at that point. And so they've got to really make some progress in this next year in order to kind of be ready for when that Squadron transition happens. Because that game is going to shake up the industry, I think, a little bit, and really put some eyes on this game that this game has not had before. And they're going to have to be ready for it. Cool. Well, as we're wrapping up here, I haven't seen any questions come through, so we'll do a final call. Chat, if there's any kind of questions you guys want to ask these guys, drop them in the chat now. Otherwise, we will get these guys out of here. And we
If
will.
you end up posting this on YouTube, I'll check it every once in a while if people end up commenting or something. And
Yeah, I'll keep eyes on it. Maybe if you guys are interested, maybe in a couple months, maybe we do a part 2 to this or something.
Sure.
Kind of dig into more specific topics.
Yeah,
get
like
your
do it
guys'
after
thoughts.
a play session or something right after, so we don't. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a group play session, and then we'll do a part 2 to this, kind of getting updated thoughts after you guys maybe get to check out a couple of new loops or things in the game. Well, I haven't seen any questions come through yet, so looks like we will we'll wrap it up here, guys. Thank you guys all for coming out. I know this was a decent time investment, so I do appreciate it. Yeah, look forward to hopping in the game with you guys when you guys do. You guys know me. If you guys are down, I'm always down. Any final things from you guys before we close here?
Yeah. When's the 500 mil gonna hit my bank account for showing up?
Yeah, how much am I getting paid to be here?
Yeah.
Let me let me check the old bank account real quick. But yeah, I do appreciate it, guys. This was
No, it's
there's
fun.
more topics I wanted to get into, but just for the sake of time, I will pause that for now. Maybe we'll pick it up in a part 2, and I appreciate it. And chat, thank you guys all for being here. We averaged like 8 viewers throughout the episode, which is cool.
Yeah, get your CIG developers to watch this, and maybe they can hook us up with something cool. No.
We'll
like
get you some
$1,000.
giveaways or
let us
something.
come play test as an old fart that played Freelancer. No.
I mean, we're all play testers. Every time you load up the game, you have to click
Yeah.
the acknowledgement saying, I agree that I'm playing an alpha and I'm play testing.
That is true. That's true.
Cool. Well, we'll close it there, guys. Thank you, chat. And we will see you guys for episode 9. And episode 9 will be in early January with my favorite YouTuber of Star Citizen, Mr. Space Tomato. So I will see you guys for episode 9 with Space Tomatoes kicking off the new year and also kicking off season 2 of the podcast. And